Just Cheesy the Podcast, presented by Just Cheesy Productions.
Hi there, I'm your host, Fondue. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about the history of charcuterie.
Ew, cooties?
No, we're going to talk cheese boards versus charcuterie.
Okay.
We're going to talk about a couple of lawsuits and cheese.
Lawsuit?
And absolutely no cheesy episode would be complete without our famous cheesy joke.
Ooh, joke.
Stay tuned for Season 2, Episode 29 of Just Cheesy, the podcast. So cheesy. First, I want to apologize to all of our listeners about last week's episode.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, we edited it a little bit backwards.
Oh, no.
So the first few people that heard it with the second part of the episode first.
Oh no.
Cheesy was a little bit under the weather
Just
last week.
me?
So I wanted to be able to tend to Cheesy and let Cheesy get a little bit of rest. So I
Sure.
hurried through the editing process.
Wow.
And for that, I am truly sorry.
Yeah, sorry everybody.
So Cheesy, this week's episode is dedicated to charcuterie.
Ew, cooties?
No, not cooties.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia, charcuterie is French,
Oh boy.
and the literal translation is cooked flesh.
Ew, that's worse than cootie.
It says here it's a French term for a branch of cooking devoted to prepared meats,
Okay.
and they're primarily from pork.
Oh.
It also says that in a 1961 edition of,
Oh no.
La Russe Gastronomique,
Oh.
defines it as the art of preparing various meats, in particular pork, in order to present them in the most diverse ways.
Oh.
But did you know, according to eatcuredmeat.com, that charcuterie goes back all the way to the 15th century?
Whoa.
They say that the French created charcuterie, and it involved using offal and all aspects of the meat.
Oh.
Now, if you recall, offal refers to organ meats of butchered animals.
Oh, that's right.
So charcuterie is invented in the 15th century,
Yep.
but the traditional process of using salt to cure meats dates all the way back to the Roman Empire,
Whoa.
almost 2,000 years ago.
Holy cow.
But the reason for charcuterie is very practical.
It is?
They began this practice because they desired to not let a single portion of the animal go to waste.
Wow.
Now, initially in France, this included mostly pork, but they began to process different types of meat. They also began to grind up different portions of the meat,
Okay.
seal, salt, cure it, and that would increase its shelf life.
Oh.
They wanted to use the, as it says here, quote, head to tail of the animal.
Nice.
And they also note that now it's become a little bit more fashionable across Western society, but throughout Asia, this has always been the way, using bones and offal.
Wow.
In traditional French charcuterie, you would see dried cured meats,
Okay.
salami,
Mm.
rillettes,
Yum.
mousse, and pâté.
Ooh.
According to stateandallen.com, they say meat was often put through a preservation process of curing, and that they formed it into some sort of sausage or dry-aged meat.
Yum.
And they say, remember this was before refrigeration. So salt, vinegar, and smoke were essential in the meat preservation process.
Oh, yeah.
And they're fast to point out that the appreciation for this charcuterie hasn't really taken off in the United States until more recently.
Wow.
And we're beginning to see a little bit more than just meat on the charcuterie boards.
Oh.
We're starting to see cheese.
We are?
We're starting to see things like pickles,
Oh.
olives, spreads,
Ooh.
fruit, preserves,
Yum.
and we're even starting to see non-meat charcuterie.
Really?
There are vegan charcuterie boards,
Whoa.
and one of the websites mentioned a s'mores charcuterie.
Yummy.
State and Allen charcuterie board, not a sponsor.
Nope.
But if they were, their ad would go right here. Have you ever wanted to listen to the web?
Yeah.
Well, Newsly makes that possible.
They do?
They're an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android.
Super app.
You can listen to trending articles on the web on topics that you choose and get them read to you in a natural human voice.
What kind of topics?
Sports,
Cheese?
tech, business, science.
Cheese?
I'm sure there's even cheese.
Yay!
They even have an entire section for podcasts.
Are we there?
Of course we are.
Ooh.
It's one of my new favorite podcast apps. They even have digital radio.
Holy cow.
Just go to www.newsly.me to download it free.
Whoa.
Or use the link in the description. If you use the promo code CHEESY, that'll get you 1 month free premium subscription.
Yay, Newsly.
Now, back to the podcast. According to WisconsinCheese.com, they say while you might find charcuterie on a cheese board and cheese on a charcuterie board, the two terms are not interchangeable.
Really?
On the website PEDIAA.com, charcuterie is described as the culinary art of preparing various meat products like sausage, bacon, salami, ham, pâté, and confit. And the French refer to the person who prepares charcuterie as the charcutier.
Sure.
I think it's French, so I could be a little bit off, but that's what it looks like to me.
Oh, man, Fondue.
I know, Cheesy. And according to the website cheeseborder.com, they refer to charcuterie as the selection of meat products, such as dried or cured prosciutto, salami, sopressata, capicola, and they describe a good cheese board as one that includes aged, firm, soft, crumbly, and creamy cheeses.
That sounds so yummy.
Currently, we're using the two terms interchangeably, so you'll typically find cheese and meat decoratively placed on a board, and they're typically accompanied by bread, crackers, olives, fruit, pickles, nuts, and various different spreads. And going back to WisconsinCheese.com, they say that making your own cheese or charcuterie board isn't that difficult.
Really?
They suggest it is 3 easy steps. 1, they say to pick out your cheeses, which they recommend 3 to 5 different types.
Sounds good.
They recommend varying the flavors and textures, saying maybe to try a soft cheese, a hard cheese, and a funky one. Next, they say to pick out your accoutrement. They discuss pairing the cheeses with things like fresh or dried fruit, mustard, jam, nuts, pickles, and all different types of accompaniments.
Yummy.
And then 3, they say to arrange or style the cheese board.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They talk about laying out the cheese, adding ramekins of jam or jelly, and they use bunches of grapes to add visual interest and, as they say here, create the illusion of bounty.
Wow.
We created our Thanksgiving cheese board
we did.
with some veggies and cheese for our family gathering. You can take a peek at it on our Instagram and our Twitter page.
It was so yummy.
It's time for my favorite segment.
This week in cheese.
Did you know that there are 2 different cheese-related lawsuits going on right now?
What? Why?
So, according to the BBC.com, there's a Florida woman who has sued the maker of Velveeta shells and cheese, which is Kraft, for $5 million.
Holy cow, why?
Because the microwavable cups say that they're ready in 3.5 minutes. She says that it's deceptive advertising. Because the preparation time is not included. The opening the lid and sauce pouch before adding the water and stirring.
Oh boy.
Her lawyers claim, I quote, she paid more than she would have had she known the truth.
Holy cow.
Her lawsuit asks the company to cease its deceptive advertising and be made to engage in a corrective advertising campaign.
Wow.
I'm not sure how long it's taking her to open the lid and sauce and add water to the 3.5 minutes. I suppose it does say on the front, ready in 3.5 minutes.
I guess.
But the directions say to combine the pasta with water up to the fill line and microwave for 3.5 minutes. And then stir in the cheese sauce mix. So I suppose the filling of the cup and the stirring might take you more than 3.5 minutes.
I guess.
We'll see how this case goes.
Wow.
This isn't the only cheese-related lawsuit.
Really?
So according to 10news.com, a federal judge in Illinois ruled that a class action lawsuit against TGI Fridays mozzarella stick snacks can proceed against the food's manufacturer, but not against the restaurant.
Whoa.
They say that they bought a product from Amazon only to find out that the packaging reveals on the back that the snack doesn't include mozzarella, but it's made with cheddar cheese. I did check these out on Amazon, and indeed, they're called mozzarella sticks.
Really?
But the back of the packaging does say cheddar cheese and not mozzarella.
That's not good.
So we'll see how this lawsuit goes as well.
I'm ready for a joke, Fondue.
When does cheese look sane?
I have no clue.
When everything else on the plate is crackers.
Oh, no. That was
Get it?
not
Crackers?
very good.
I know. It wasn't very good,
No.
but it was a little bit cheesy. Thanks for listening to Just Cheesy the Podcast, Season 2, Episode 29.
Thank you.
We look forward to talking to you next week.
Stay cheesy, everybody.